Jacquie, I am so excited to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I know that you are the author of the book called The Silent Bully, and there's something about that title that really speaks to me. And I can only assume that it has to do with the way that we talk about ourselves and overcoming challenges. So I'm really excited to dive deeper into what that means to you. But if you don't mind, I would love it if you introduce yourself to my audience. Who is it that I'm talking to today?
Well, I am a certified life, relationship, and spiritual coach and speaker, and lead retreats. And now I'm an author of my book, Silent Bully. And my name is Jacquie Elliot, and my website is healingabc.com. Yeah, I started this journey many, many years ago, as a child. I mean, that's when my abusive brain chatter started. So it was with me for till I was 42, and then I learned that is what was holding me back. That the abusive brain chatter was telling me I wasn't good enough, telling me I didn't deserve what I deserved at work. It told me I was an imposter. It told me I had to work 60 hours a week just to prove that I was worth 40 hours a week. It told me I was a bad mother and I was never going to get in the relationship. And it led me into addiction, food addiction, where I just sat home and ate and watched TV. And that was my life until I was 42. So my life is very different now. Fast forward, like I said, I'm a relationship coach. I ran a corporation. My whole life has changed. So anyway, that's me.
Yeah, so I'm curious, what is it that happened at 42 that was the pivotal moment, if you will?
It was one day I was home from work and I was in bed and watching TV like I normally did. It was back before Netflix, so I had to binge soap operas. And I was sitting there with a box of frosted mini wheats in my lap. And I liked frosted mini wheats because they had sweetness and crunch. So I would suck off the sweetness off of one side, then crunch it. And I know that sounds crazy, but that just kept my mind quiet. And the abuse was so loud that day. It was just telling me, it was super mean. And I was doing everything I could to quiet it, like binge watching TV, eating. I had asthma and I was puffing on an asthma inhaler. And I just looked up and I just said, I can't do this anymore. I cannot live the second half of my life like the first half. So I have a choice, either end my life or change. And something had to change, and I knew it was me. I had to do the changing. I could no longer be passive in my life. I had to be proactive. And that's what happened. I found a support group for eating disorders. I found a therapist. I literally got down on my knees. And I'm not a religious person, but I was just called to get down on my knees and get as humble as I possibly could and say, you got to direct me because I don't know how to get out of this. I can't use my own brain to get out of this. So I need some divine guidance or spiritual guidance or whatever it was. And I received it. And my life started to change slowly but surely. For one thing, I stopped spending 60 hours at work every week. I worked my normal 40 hours, took my lunch break, came when I was supposed to come, left when so I didn't have to prove anything. It was just like, I'm getting paid for this. This is what I'm going to work. My work certainly improved because I had a lot more confidence. And I started a spiritual journey. That's when my spiritual journey really started in earnest. Wow. And I started to do the work I started to hear that voice. What is the voice telling me? And why is it telling me that? And if I listen to that voice, I'm going to not be able to change because I was in a kind of an emotional abusive relationship, marriage. And what I always say, and what I say in my book is that I left my emotional abuser, but I took it with me and started to emotionally abuse myself.
Mm.
So I took the time after I left my marriage. I took 5, maybe even 8 years, 10 years to really do the work on myself, to go to retreats, to learn who I was. And this whole process of ABCs in my book that I talk about, awareness, believe, and challenge, are really the process that I took. I became aware that my life was completely out of control, that I was aware that I couldn't change it. I was aware that it was emotional abuse. When I say abusive brain chatter, some people, they say, I don't like that title. And I say, good, you're not supposed to like it, because you're supposed to resonate with it and say, I don't want to have abusive brain chatter. I don't want to be my own victim and bully. And that's kind of what happened to me. It was like, no, I have now find my spiritual path and then challenge these core beliefs. These beliefs that told me I was not good enough. I'd never get into a relationship. A relationship is the most important thing in the world. And that's what I believed. That's what completes me. I'm nothing without a man. And if I can't get a man who loves me, I'll take whatever hostage I can. And and that's kind of what I did in my first marriage. I say I took my husband hostage, even though he was abusive. At the end, when I really came out of this and when I really started to change, I apologized to him because I said, look, I didn't want to be married to you. I wanted somebody who was going to make me secure and make me feel better, but you came along and you liked me, and so I hooked you. And so, in a way, you really didn't have a choice because I worked really hard to make you what I wanted, but that wasn't who you were. You didn't want to be married to me, and so you acted out, and I put up with it. And I'm really sorry that I put up with it so long. I should have left and left you to find who you needed to find. And that was as a result of all of this growth. I know people always say to me, wow, I can't believe you did that. You apologized to him. He was so awful. He was a womanizer. He cheated. He blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we all have to take responsibility at some point in our life. That's what my book talks about. It talks about not being a victim anymore. Because when we're a victim, we're also a victim of ourselves. And we can't change. We're stuck. As soon as you get to the place of, oh, I can't do this, or life is that, or oh, look how bad people are treating me, you get stuck.
Yeah.
And my goal in writing this book was to help people on a step-by-step basis get unstuck, get awareness, find the spiritual center, and then start to challenge their beliefs. And like you and I were talking before about your book, I share how I did that. But I also share tools. I have worksheets and tools. And I think that's really important. I really did the work. And I no longer, my life now is like, if my husband now, I'm in a loving relationship, met me back then, we never would have married. I mean, it was like he wouldn't have recognized me because I was all about, feed me, feed me, feed me, because I'm not enough. I'm empty. So anyway, that's a long story, but that's how I got there.
I mean, it's beautiful, and I also admire your self-awareness there, and also the strength in actually apologizing, because I mean, it takes two to tango, a cliche, right? It's that, like, although you recognize the way that he treated you wasn't right, you also see your own accountability in that, and I really admire that. So thank you for sharing. I do wonder though, was there anything that triggered all of this behavior from childhood? Like, is there a greater story that came to manifest in an anxious attachment for you?
Yes, and it's interesting that you talk about attachment. I know that's a lot of your work.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a lot of trauma in my life. I'm one of 4 sisters, and when I was about 4 or 5 years old, maybe four. My mother, and I tell the story in the book, how she put us all down, sat us all down. My sister was a baby in a crib or in a playpen, and my other sister was a little older and she was doing whatever I was probably playing with dolls or something. And my older sister, I think, was 10 or 11, whatever. Anyway, and she sat us all down and she closed her bedroom door and swallowed a bottle of pills and attempted to kill herself. And what I remember about that, I was very, very young, but I remember, and I outline it in detail, the fire engines. And I remember my grandfather calling and saying, wake her up, and us bouncing on the bed trying to wake her up, and she wouldn't wake up. And suddenly my grandfather shows up and he's slapping her around, and the fire engines are coming and people are grabbing me and everybody's outside and all the lights. It was traumatic. It was a traumatic experience.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And so from that, of course, a core belief started to develop. And I talk about that. The ABCs is core belief. You have to really understand your core beliefs and where they came from. And sometimes they're accidental. Yeah. Of course, my mother didn't mean to give me a core belief that if I wasn't good, if I didn't behave, I wouldn't be, she would kill herself. She would leave us again. But that's something that I developed, that I have to be enough. I have to be good enough. And I can't make any waves. I have to be an angel. And so a lot of times, we're kids, we're not angels, but I tried to be good and I held so much in, I held my breath that I got asthma. And a lot of times there's allergy reasons for asthma, but I really think mine, and they always talk about it's kind of it's a mother illness, but I know that was kind of mine because I didn't want to take up any space. Mm-hmm. So I had to hold my breath so that my mother wouldn't kill herself or so that I wouldn't upset her. So that was one thing, is that I had to be good. I couldn't show up in the world. That started young. And then my mother, she got help, fortunately. She attempted it several times, but finally she got help. But my mother had abusive brain chatter of her own, and that's where a lot of times we get it. Our parents have it. They were told something. And for my mother, she was told that she had to be beautiful. Her mother was not pretty, and so my mother was beautiful, and that was what got supported. Beauty and marrying. She married my father, who was a war hero and a paratrooper, and that was important. So it was important that her daughters did that. And I was kind of a rebel. I like to eat. Oh, well, who knows where the eating came from. It could have come from, just that traumatic experience where I had to just keep filling myself with food. But so, I was a little bit chubby, but not bad. And I bit my nails and I sat with my legs uncrossed. And my mother always worked on me. I was her project. She would, till the day she died, the day before she died, she said to me when I visited her, "Oh, that green doesn't look good on you. You need to go to my closet and pick out a different color green." Because it was important to her that I was beautiful. So I was the one that was sent to exercise. I was sent to Weight Watchers. I was sent to charm school, learning how to sit and talk and all of that. And that wasn't me. That just wasn't me. I was a little creative kid. I was all about creativity. I liked to write songs. I liked to write poetry. But that wasn't supported. What was supported is you have to look pretty. It's important. It's important. Beauty is important because that's what's going to get you through in the world. Well, of course, you know, as a life coach and a mindset coach and a relationship, that of course my attachment, I would attach to the first person who showed me attention, who I thought elevated me. Mm-hmm. He was a CPA, he had money, he was good looking, and it didn't matter. I didn't even care about who he was as a person. And he showed himself very early in our marriage. 3 months after we were married, we had an affair and he was cheating on me. And he turned out to be a gambler. And so anyway, so all of these beliefs that we get from our parents turn into core beliefs. So the core belief is, I feel prettier at this age than I ever did my whole life. And I'm at an age now where I'm old and most of my friends are feeling less pretty. I suddenly, it took me a while to realize that my beauty is not about my looks. My beauty is about my radiance and what I give back to this world. And so that's how my core beliefs got started. And of course, because being sick and having asthma, I felt weak. And so I never challenged myself with exercise and things like that. And after I got healthier from my 50th birthday, I decided I was going to challenge myself, my belief that I couldn't do something. I couldn't run a marathon. So I signed up for a triathlon, which was crazy, just crazy. It's like, you've never run a marathon, you're now signed up for a triathlon. And it was in California and San Diego and in the coast. And anyway, I came in dead last, absolute dead last. And they even had to rescue me out of the water because I was just treading water for 30 minutes. I couldn't make the turn to get around the bend. And you know what? It was like, I didn't care. It was like, okay, Jackie, you can do anything. You can do anything you want. It's not about you can't, it's about how can you.
That's so
and
cool.
Little steps, with baby steps, I did it. I finished that triathlon. So that's what I urge people to do in the books. And the part of the challenge is to really who said that? Who said I couldn't write a book? Who said it's going to be awful? Who is that imposter inside of me? And the belief part, I was raised in a household that wasn't religious. We celebrated holidays, but we really I never understood what people were saying. And I grew up feeling there was a God because I was creative, and God comes through you when you're creative. But I didn't feel like God was answering my prayers. So when I realized that I had to find a source greater than myself and the God that I grew up with, that was also a big change for me. It was like, okay, Jackie, we don't do that anymore. This loving voice is saying, no, we're taking you on a different path now. You and I are going somewhere different. Mm-hmm. And that is in the past. You're stuck in the past, but here's where we're going. And just keep producing, just keep moving forward, and I will guide you. When I talked about that before, that guidance, and that's really kind of my history. I had sexual abuse. There all kinds of trauma in my life, but I'm not a victim of trauma. It's like that was my past. I don't have to be a victim of my trauma. I am totally about self-love every day.
Yeah. Wow. What a remarkable story. I mean, just the fact that you had to witness that entire situation with your mother, which certainly is a traumatic experience, for you to sit here today, beautiful, truly beautiful, but also feeling beautiful and understanding that you don't have to be a victim of whatever happened to you. You are in control of who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world. And it is true, you are radiant. And I think it is beautiful to hear how you came to that conclusion, granted all of the unfairness that you have observed and been through. So I think that's incredibly impressive. Also, it's incredibly funny to hear about this triathlon. I did not expect that at all. And to even hear how you had to cope with that and being saved out of the water but still completed, even though it was last. Who cares? When you came in, you completed something most people don't even begin to do. I have never done a triathlon, probably won't ever do a triathlon. That's freaking cool, Jackie.
Yes. I'm proud of that one.
Yeah, you should be. I mean, you obviously have an incredible story to tell, and it is evident to me, based off of what you are sharing happened to you and your level of awareness today, that you can inspire so many people. And I wonder, what was the beginning, like what was the first couple of steps that you made to someone who might find themselves in a similar situation of listening to that terrible voice in their mind telling them that they're a bad mother or a bad person, or they're not pretty enough, or they're not this, or they're not that, however, that conviction, how can you help someone change that voice in their head?
Okay, so I break it down, like I said, into ABC, so you can remember ABC, ABC. The first thing is to be aware, to just spend a week or two or whatever. Just, if you hear this podcast, just kind of start being aware of abusive brain chatter. whether it's your own or whether it's your girlfriend saying, oh, I'm so stupid, I didn't get that job, or oh, I'll never work out. I always start working out and I never finish. And start listening to the chatter that, especially women. I mean, women really do, and especially as we age, but even young women have, they have to keep up with the other women, and there's competition and all of that. So start paying attention. Pay attention to what you say to yourself when you look in the mirror. Jot it down. Just start writing these down, because once you start tuning into it, it's like chalk, like nails on a chalkboard. I mean, I hear it all the time. And my friends, even now, will sometimes call me out on it because I talk about it so much. They'll say, is that abusive brain chatter? And I say, well, no, that's actually a fact. I really don't know how to do this, but, it gets close. I'm training my friends to call me on it. And that's the first thing, be aware. And the second thing is be aware of the signs of emotional abuse. Because if you know that you're emotionally abusing yourself, you're going to be more committed to stopping. So emotional abuse is bullying, right? An abuser will bully you and say, you can't do that, don't do that. Belittling, you're so stupid, you look so fat, you're never going to get a man. You shouldn't even try to get a better job. You shouldn't even why are you even trying to get a raise? I mean, that's gaslighting you, telling you that, you're not good enough to do that. Isolating you. If you're in some kind of addiction, I guarantee you that you have abusive brain chatter, because a lot of times that's why we, use a substance to quiet that voice that's telling us we're not enough. And so that's the first part. Just be aware. And, I laugh at myself now. I'm to the point where, oh, there you are. I hear you. And the second part is believe, and that's the spiritual part. And I have a lot of exercises in my book, and I'm not sure if I have this one, but in my coaching practice, my spiritual practice, and people can do this now. I can tell you how to do this, but it's a process of going back and finding your soul, where you lost your soul. So if I were to say to you, think back, I'm going to take you back. We're going to go back with your higher power. First, we're going to meet your higher source, and your higher source is now going to take you back to when you stopped being authentic you and when you kind of lost your soul.
It's interesting because I have several thoughts kind of popping into my head in the circumstances where maybe it started with comparison. It's probably teenage years where I started with comparison and not really feeling as though I just wanted to be like the person who got the most attention from the people that I wanted attention from.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I stopped showing up as who I was and tried to copy the behavior of the people who were accomplishing that. That's probably when that began for me.
Yes.
I think. That's at least what pops into my head. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good, because a lot of most people who have trauma usually go back to that traumatic time where they had to shut down. But so then what I would say to you is, okay, we would spend some time as I'm taking you through this meditation, and we would get to know the qualities of your soul. Who was Maggie when she came into this earth? Who's Maggie meant to be? And we would spend some time with your source, with your loving source, examining who you are, who you're meant to be, who you want to be. And then we come back, we take that soul, I'm kind of showing you because it is kind of an image. We kind of just bring that soul wrapped in beautiful velvet. We bring it back to the present. And you get it back. We give it back to you. And now it's your soul to guide. And so if you think of a few qualities of your soul, what would you have said?
Wow, qualities of my soul. Because immediately I'm thinking, what am I good at, and what is something that I enjoy doing? And it tends to have to do with communication, but healing through communication. I think if my soul had a purpose, it was to put words to emotions and relieve some of that pain from other people who don't know how to do that.
Okay.
I think it would be something like that. But what was interesting when you were talking right now? I was actually thinking, because So I'm in my bedroom right now, and I have in front of my bed, I have this stand, and I have a baby picture of myself. I'm probably less than a year in this photo. And as you were talking, I was thinking about, why do I feel so disconnected from that girl in the photo? And I almost started getting a little bit emotional because,
Yeah.
as you know, I've definitely been on this journey of venturing inwards and facing my trauma. I had sexual trauma from when I was like 5 years oldish,
Oh, you did too. Okay.
and I know that that also showed up how I manifested in how I showed up in the world, especially in relationship with other men, because I thought that since men were sexually driven, that's how I provided value for them, and I completely lost myself in the promiscuity of teenage years and college. It wasn't great, and
High five. I'm right there with you. I was 5 years old too when I got molested, and that was
yeah.
my path as well.
But it was so the thing is, it was so confusing because I never identified it as trauma because it was children playing with children, but it was a
Uh-huh.
children doing adult behavior and teaching and treating it like play. And then I started doing that with other friends and other friends. So it's as if that's when I started my sexual career, and it just kind of catapulted until I was able to identify it at 24 years old was when I first told this story to my friend, and he looked at me like, I don't think this is a normal, like, I don't think this is normal behavior. And I was like, what do you mean this is not the normal behavior? And we started talking more about it. And I realized it was just as if all of these like thoughts popped into my head and all of these pieces are falling into place. And all of a sudden it clicks why nothing's worked. And because I had never actually identified it as trauma, I never actually identified it as a wound because I didn't think that it was. And it's so strange because I genuinely feel like I am a person who know myself on a deep level, but still somehow when I look at baby pictures of myself, it's as if I maybe have this deceiving thought that I'm not doing her justice, but I know that's not true. So it is interesting. You're triggering something inside of me that I'm struggling a little bit to identify, but I like this exercise. I like where we're going because I do enjoy the challenge of identifying core wounds and understanding better what it is that is triggering it, because I do believe that life is a journey in which you continue to identify things, and although we don't have to make a grand gesture out of absolutely all of these acknowledgement, I think simply acknowledging it at all is the key to momentum.
You're very wise for your age.
Thank
How
you.
how old are you?
I'm 29.
Oh yeah, you're very wise. I mean, it took me till, like I said, in my 40s, but I also identify, I have a picture of my little girl when she, like around 4 years old on my wall in my office in my other home. And and I always look up at her, and it's so nice that that's who I feed now. So you asked how we do this. So you kind of bring that back. You get this belief that you tap into that source that loves you and that knows that you had a purpose, and then your job is to fulfill that purpose and not let anything weigh it down or beat it up or hold it back, right? So the third part is then to go back and to now challenge anything that comes up that starts to be negative. Now, the thing that's interesting about abusive brain chatter is that it's there to protect us. It thinks it's protecting us. It doesn't want us to get hurt. It doesn't think, because of all of our trauma or because of our core beliefs, it doesn't think we're capable. And so a lot of times we just have to reassure it. And that's reassure it. I do an exercise I talk about in the book also. It's kind of a voice dialogue process. There's a wonderful book about it. And it's where I let the two sides talk to each other. I do this with clients. It's like, okay, so if you have a side of you that wants to succeed and wants to go after a big job, but you have another side of you that's afraid, is holding you back, so you never go for anything, we do some voice dialogue. We let both of those voices talk and tell us, what are they doing here? Why are they here? What do they want? And then we bring them back together so that they're mutually working for you, because no, you don't want to, your abusive brain chatter doesn't want you to get hurt, but it's hurting you by holding you back. So once you get both of them going, okay, I'm a little afraid. No, okay, I'll take a few chances, but kind of lighten up on me a little bit. You kind of integrate that. Then you're working in tandem with yourself. So now when abusive brain chatter comes up, and it comes up before I turn on the Zoom, it'll come up when I'm looking in the mirror, like, but I say, not today. We don't do that to Jackie. That's not Jackie's purpose. And I literally say that, no, that's Jackie's purpose. I need to tune into my higher purpose. So you need to take a back seat and let me tune into what my higher purpose says about that. Especially writing my book, there would be times that I would just go, oh, imposter syndrome, or, oh, I can't write. And I would have to sit at my desk and go, all right, abusive brain chatter over here. Okay, higher power, what do I need to say right now? What is my truth? And that's where I need to live. That's where I need to grow. But again, healthy fear is good. Yeah. But if it holds you back, it's abusive brain chatter.
Oh my gosh, you're touching on so many things that is triggering so many thoughts in me. And if you don't mind, I really want to just be honest with you about some things that I'm struggling with currently. Lately, so I'm obviously doing this podcast, and I'm doing it because I genuinely believe that all of us sharing our stories will open up for other people to find resonance in other people's stories and see themselves in that story and recognize that, like, oh, it doesn't have to be this big thing, because a lot of us don't really want to identify as someone who is traumatized or has trauma, maybe because of the nature of where they grew up, or because it wasn't necessarily bad, or they don't remember it as bad. Maybe they've buried their memories, whatever it might be. I genuinely believe that to share our stories is a gift, because we might save someone else's life in a process, just because just at the right time, the right person might have said something that triggered anything at all that actually helped change the narrative that they had in their minds. So I genuinely believe that not only in sharing my own story, but in creating a platform where other people get to share their stories too, because as a collective, we can create genuine impact. But although I do believe in this mission, and I genuinely believe in the purpose, and it's beautiful, and I know that it's good, when I am promoting content, or if I'm making Instagram quotes, or creating little short snippets on TikTok or Instagram, and I'm posting it, I always have this like big dread inside of me, because I care about what people say. When I get negative comments in the comment section, I have to spend time just like regulating my nervous system to just be like, no, Maggie, this is not a criticism about you. Or it's like, this is not about, it's not even about you. It's like whatever this person is saying or means, or is even getting themselves to put negative comments out there, has absolutely nothing to do with you. But it's like this whole process of still doing it. And I'm terrified. I think it's so scary. I believe in my purpose, and I believe in what I'm doing, and I know that I'm doing it for good. I believe that God put me on this planet to do what I'm doing, and I'm trying to stay in alignment. So I really am trying to push myself to do it. But that doesn't mean that I'm terrified and I have all of these thoughts where it's like, okay, I'm posting it, and then I'm putting my phone away for the rest of the day so that I don't get to see it or something. It's stressful. I'll open LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok or Instagram, and I'll be like, oh my God, what are the comments? What are they like? And it's silly, because I genuinely know that what I'm doing is good, but somehow there's this voice inside of me that is like, but what if they say something mean, or what if people judge me, or what if I go viral for all the wrong reasons?
Right. Well, you know what I suggest, and what really helps with that, is that dialoguing that I talked about. What I would say to you is, why are you posting? What's the purpose?
I just hope that somewhere along the way, someone hears something and it triggers an idea in their mind, and it's either a way of healing themselves or healing their relationships. Because at the end of the day, I just want to love loud, and I want other people to love louder. So I know my purpose is to just share as much wisdom as I possibly can, because I know how life-changing it was for me. And if there's even the slightest chance that one more person will talk themselves out of committing suicide or doing something that they wouldn't want to do to others, etc., I want to be that voice of reasons that talk them out of that, if there's a slight possibility of that happening.
Okay, so that's your motive. Now, what gets in the way of your motive is your abusive brain chatter or your fear, right? So there's a great exercise that you can do where you go up on a mountaintop you have something to say. We all do. I do too. You visualize going up to the mountaintop, top of the mountain. You look down below. There's all of these people waiting for you to speak. They're waiting for you. And in the back, you see this one woman, and she's the one you need to talk to. You are speaking for her. And then you get out of your way. You literally say that. I need to get out of my way so I can speak to that person. And if that one person sees your Instagram, you've fulfilled your purpose, and you fulfilled your higher power's purpose. It's like a download, right? You get this information you want to share. It's like a download. And if you keep it here, it doesn't get out. But so you need to let it flow. And it's really just a matter of saying to yourself, okay, I hear you. You're afraid. You're afraid people aren't going to like you. You're afraid you're going to get a bad comment. Oh, so what? What you think of me, I always say that. What you think of me is none of my business. Either keep it to yourself or I'm not going to even listen to it. So, because I'm posting too. I do the same thing. I go on, I see if people posted, and people posted stuff, And I just kind of go, oh, well, you're not my peeps. You're not the person I'm reaching. There was somebody who was on my book and said, I just bought your book and I can't wait to read it. And, and she found it through Instagram, and she's the one I'm talking to. And I guarantee you she'll, I told her, I sent her my email address and said, email me and let me know if you have any questions. And that's who I'm talking to.
That is
so it doesn't matter. I mean, if I want to make a lot of money and sell books, yes, I could hire somebody and do all of this. But I want to reach people too, and I want to have fun.
Yes.
And so doing my Instagrams are fun. I do some stupid ones. And, if you go on, I think it's Jacquie Elliot, CLC, and find me on Instagram. I dance, I do stupid stuff, but it's all about promoting self-love. That's what I promote in my Instagrams. So how can that be bad? How can somebody not like that? And if they do, again, you're not my peeps.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. I'm definitely going to find your Instagram and be inspired and think about it every time I'm scared. I'm just going to be like, I'm going to be silly like Jacquie because it's fun being silly.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so up and down. It's so fluctuating because sometimes I'll be like, I'm that girl, I can really tap into that energy too and be full of confidence and self-assurance. And at the core, I really am. At the core, I really am. But then there are I'm human as anyone else, and comments get to me and I have to talk my way out of it. But at the same time, what I do want to acknowledge too in the process of all of the fear is I'm still doing it, even though it's scary. I'm doing the thing even when I know that there's a risk of getting those comments and not really liking it, but it doesn't mean that it's going to stop me and paralyze me from acting at all. Because like I said, I believe in the purpose, I believe in the mission, and you're right. There is at least one person who will hear it and it will change their life and their world, or at least maybe a point of view. Because I think that the more we can stay open and aware that there's this slight chance that maybe we're wrong about that limiting belief or that pattern that we've been following for so long, or even stop to question whether or not the belief we have is even our own, or if it's just something we picked up somewhere along the way and we stuck by it because of egotistical reasons. And but all of that to say, the most important thing is not quit even when it's scary.
Exactly. You're never going to be done with abusive brain chatter. That's the reality. We are humans and our chatter is going to happen. But once we learn to tame it, it goes so simple. I talk about the idea of fear being like a kid hanging on his mother's apron, if they wear aprons or whatever. Just hold, mommy, 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 mom, mom. And if you have kids and if you ignore them, they're just going to keep going. They don't know to stop until you stop and say, what? And they say, mommy, whatever, I'm afraid to go outside, or the dog, or whatever. And then you tend to it. So it's the kind of same thing with the fear. I feel it kind of like, okay, mommy, mommy, I got a fear. And I have to stop and say, look, I hear your fear that somebody's going to say something bad about me, but that's okay. I can handle it. I'm old enough. I know how good I am, and I have a purpose. So you can quiet down right now and just treat it like that. Treat it like a little kid hanging on your apron string.
That is a funny thought. A thought that popped into my head too was maybe we should just pair it with amusing brain chatter.
You mean like what would be an example?
And then, well, instead of abusive, the negative self-talk, be a little bit more amusing and just joke with it and play around with it. It's like, oh, you're trying to pull me down? Well, I'm not gonna let you. It could just be something silly, turning it around on turning it into something silly. So sometimes I'll just look myself in a mirror because we talked about my book before we got online, but it's called I Am Secure. And one of the reasons why I'm using the I am is because of the affirmations that I've used in my life. And for me, when I was on the lowest of my confidence, that's what saved me, was using I am affirmations to help me out of that pit. So very often now, while I'll be looking at myself in the mirror, because what ended up happening along the way was that if I had gone a whole day and I felt shitty and then I saw my reflection in a mirror, I would all of a sudden be reminded of like, there you are. There's that girl that I believe in. That's the girl that I built up. Sometimes the mere reflection of myself is actually pulling myself out of the negative self-talk because I don't know who I'm talking to when I don't see my own reflection. But when I'm in my own reflection and it's visible to me, I can't fathom saying those negative things to her in her face. It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't say the things you say behind someone's back to their face. That's actually how it became to be on my own. So I guess that's what I mean a little bit about that amusing brain chatter. Is just it was just a play of words because you said abusive and it was close enough, but it's just
Oh
turning it
yeah, no,
around to something positive instead of
that is,
something
I
negative.
mean, if you when you go on my Instagram, you'll see I do some videos where I wear the abusive brain chatter, and I'm standing over you, like when you turn on the Zoom, and I'm going, oh my God, look at your neck, you look terrible. Oh, don't you have a filter? And I pretend like I'm the abusive brain chatter, and then the other part of it is I say, no, go away, I don't want you. So it's like a two-person video. So yeah, you'll see that how to do funny.
Yeah.
Just that's exactly it. Get out of here. Yeah,
Yeah.
go on, get out. But then you have to be able to replace it with self-love. You have
Yeah.
to be able to tap into that. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I
There's
I
so
saw
much I could talk about. I know we don't have a lot of time, but in the book, I really, I seriously urge people, if they are struggling with this, to pick up a copy of the book, because I really walk you through those kinds of
yeah.
exercises.
Yeah, it
I have
helps. I can feel it
worksheets,
helping.
exactly.
Just
Yeah,
this
yeah.
conversation, and I'm sure that the book offers so much more value as well. So I'm certainly intrigued, and I believe I believe in what it is that you're sharing too, and also because I can see it in the energy and the way that you're showing up. It's really interesting to see you and to talk with you, and if you have more time, I'm super curious to learn a little bit more about what started changing in your life. You said that you have children and you have a new partner now. So what was it about the way that you changed over the years that allowed for these relationships to flourish?
Well, again, when I started getting spiritual, I knew, I say in my book that my picker was broken. I couldn't pick men because I would pick men out of attachment
Mm,
rather than out of who they were. And I would pick men who, I would, when I go out on dates, it would be like, do they like me? Do they like me? Or if I go to a
yeah.
bar, it's like, pick me, pick me. That's the way I operated in the world in terms of relationships with men. And soon I shifted it, and I realized that I have to be the one to interview them. In other words, I have to have a set of criteria, which I wrote down, and I have to now be able to know the flags. And so I got a flag. I had a therapist actually, and I would go on dates, and I'd come back and I'd say, okay, flag, flag, this was a flag, he was a drinker, this was a flag. And I would talk about them so that I didn't get attached
Mm,
to the normal kind of people.
mm,
So that was real important for me to go in to, once I understood who I was, then I could understand who I wanted.
yeah.
So that's the work I did. And And then somebody gave me, I was at a retreat, and somebody gave me this wonderful letter from God. It was a letter from God, and it said, don't worry about getting a relationship. Worry about yourself. Take care of yourself. Make things, find out who you are. And while you're doing that, I'm over here getting him ready for you, or him or her, or whatever.
Yeah.
So when I think you guys are ready, I'll bring you together. So just relax. And that's what happened. It was like a total mind shift. It was like, yeah, I don't have to work so hard to make somebody like me. I can relax and wait till that person is meant to be and was my true soulmate and be able to recognize them. And there were so many ironies when I met my husband, because my son's name was Michael Elliot and my best friend's name was Michael Elliot. And when I met my husband, it was a blind date my sister set us up with. And she said, oh, I think he's perfect for you. And I was like, okay. And he called me and I said, who is this? And he said, this is Michael Elliot. And I went, no, you're kidding. You're joking, right? Because that was like, that's a name I've always used in my scripts and things like that. And he said, no. And as we talked, we were so alike in so many ways, and we connected. Even when we touched, it felt like I was dipping into his skin. Our skin didn't, it just felt like, okay. So I just went, okay, God, all right. Thank you. You brought me a good one who loves me. He thinks I'm just wonderful. And so anyway, that's what I tell people about relationships. Work on yourself and leave yourself open to finding who fits you. Don't go pick me, but instead go interview people. I have a client now who I tell him to go out and interview people. Just go on dates and just as you're going out, just start saying, okay, they've got this. No, I don't like this. I don't like this. Just do it as a process of learning what you like and what you don't like. Yeah. And it doesn't, each date you go on doesn't have to be, is this going to be the man who gives me children or whatever? It's just going to be, I wonder if this is the man who my higher power sent me. Let me find out.
Yeah, that's such a funny story. I love how you'd use this name as your kind of manifestation, and then it turned out to be quite accurate. It's remarkable. I love that. And it was something that you said that actually had me thinking about my own situation too, because I have a boyfriend now. We started off our relationship as we were friends for years before we actually started dating. But the moment we opened the door for dating, we just never shut it. It was that I just remember one day I hadn't even considered him. Not one day in my life had I considered him. On the contrary, I had made this idea in my head that he wasn't husband material, but it wasn't even that deep. I didn't think about it in like grand gesture or anything. But one day I was just feeling cuddly, and I told him, and from that moment I was in his arms, my entire nervous system changed. And I remember looking up at God, and I was like, really? And from that moment on, it turned into something that I could have never dared even dreamed about. I did not imagine it being him, but all of a sudden it turns out to be checking off all of the boxes from the list that I too have developed of my own. And it happens when you least expect it. I definitely did not expect it that day. And it is the most beautiful relationship I've ever found myself in. So it's beautiful. It really works writing that list, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it does. It sounds like you've really moved into a place in your life of self-care and knowledge and growing. You got the idea that growing isn't bad. There's so many people. I have friends, I have clients who growing is painful, is scary, and they don't want to do it. They'd rather just kind of stay where they are and stay stuck. And, I say the beauty is in the growing. That's where it's like, oh, wow, okay. Wow, I didn't know that. I'm going to die at some point, but look, I learned something new today.
Yeah.
And that's where the beauty of life comes in. Not in the being stuck in the fear, but in the actual pushing through the fear, like you said.
Yes, yeah. For sure. I also had to, I keep saying this to people, but there's this thing my brother once told me when I felt shame around the fact that I was always in relationships, because I'm rarely ever single, because that was never the goal. And he said, but think about it like this, Maggie, that you're so brave that even though you know how painful it is to go through all of these breakups and how heartbreaking it can be, how brave it is to actually dare and try again and again. That is the true power. And you learn so much from all of these relationships. And it's true. We learned so much from all of our quote unquote failures too. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the cliche as well. So it's definitely nothing's going to change when everything stays the same. So in order to change the situation we're unhappy with, something has to change.
Yes. And my favorite book is, it's an old book, but is Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Feel the
Because
fear and do it anyways.
it's a
I love that.
great book. And I remember saying to my sister, you know, you have it so easy. And, you know, you skated through our family, and you know, you work out and you meditate, and you know, life is so easy for you, and you have a good money mindset, and you make a lot of money, and you're confident. And she said, it's not easy. I work every day. I journal every day. I go to the gym. I make myself go to the gym. I
Mm,
don't, you know, who wants to get up and go to the gym? But I do. I do all the things that feed me
mm,
because they feed me.
mm.
And that was like a big shift for me. It's like, oh, she
Uh-huh.
feels the fear and does it anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas before that, I would feel the fear and go, nope, I can't do that. That's not me. You know, and I would listen to that gaslighting, right?
Yeah.
Why can't I go to the gym 3 times a week? I mean, I love it now. It's my favorite thing to do. It was just getting through that initial belief
Yeah.
and also feeling the fear of being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Jackie, I've loved talking to you, and you're opening up my mind to some thought processes that I get to reflect on after this call. But is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that you want to talk about?
No, you know, the only thing that I would probably haven't mentioned is in my book, I break it down to, you know, abusive brain chatter and parenting and but body image. I think that's an
Mm.
important thing for people.
Yeah.
Um, Abusive brain chatter and body image. And what I do in one of my meditations is I take you through a deep meditation, and then we take off what I call your earth suit, and we unzip your earth suit, and you step out as your white light or whoever you are inside. And so I want to talk about that earth suit because we are all given an earth suit. And some of us are given different ones, tall ones, short ones, fat ones, skinny ones. You know, this is the suit we ride into this, you know, we ride into this planet with, and we're going to leave it behind. We leave our earth suit in the grave.
Yeah.
So don't take your earth suit too serious. I mean,
Mhm.
it's important to take care of it, of course, but when I look in the mirror, you know, it's like I don't see that anymore. It's like I don't see my earth suit because my earth suit's getting old. That's the reality. It's getting old, and I like to see that myself getting old because it reminds me, oh, your earth suit is getting old. You're getting a little older. You don't have time for bullshit. So that's real important to understand that this is just your earth suit, and who you are and who you leave, what trace you leave in the world is about that baby soul that I told, you know, that soul that you brought with you. Did you complete that mission? Did you
Mm.
complete that soul's mission? Not was that soul beautiful or this or that. Did you complete the mission? And if you haven't yet completed it, then you still have work to do.
Yeah.
And so don't worry so much about your body. Again, take care of it, but don't worry about your body. It's just your earth suit. And if you're old and you look in the mirror, take a look and look through your eyes and realize that when you look in the mirror when you're older, you start to look more like your parents and your grandparents when you get older. And you have these wrinkles and the jowls and your face changes. But inside of you is that past, the history of women and men and grandfathers. But when I look in the mirror and I don't like what I see, I stop for a minute and I pause and I look beyond the wrinkles and I beyond everything and I look at my eyes and I say, and I wait until I see my father or my mother or my grandmother. I just wait until they appear to me, and then I go, "Oh, hi, Dad. Hi, Grandma." I see you in me. You are in me, and I'm going to honor that. So I think that's just real important because I think body image is one way what we really beat ourselves up with.
Yeah. Ah, that's such a beautiful image. I really like that, Jackie. That's pretty cool. I don't think I've ever considered looking for my ancestry in my reflection, but maybe that would be a fun exercise. So thank you for putting
Hmm.
that out there. I appreciate it.
Good. Yeah,
Thank you
well,
so much.
yeah, and I hope people got a lot out of this. And I'm always open to emails. If anybody has questions, you can find my website at healingabc.com. And I think there's a place to message me or you'll find and I'm always happy to answer questions. I mean, you don't have to book a session with me. It's just, I heard you talk and I have a question. How would you handle this? And
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that.
Oh, yes. I really do encourage all my listeners to open up for a conversation with you because it's truly lovely to chat with you and you have this radiance around you that truly is magnetic. So I'll make sure to include all of this in the description below. And thank you again so much, Jackie, for being on my podcast. It's been a
Mm.
true pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.